Good evening, John.
Chris, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Good.
I am told you were at a seminar today.
Yeah, tomorrow, doing 5 Fridays. I got three left, so
Oh, wow. What is that?
doing a financial management seminar through the MMA. So it's been pretty good.
Oh, good. Where do you go?
It's luckily online. Um, but it's a big like classroom format, so it's live all day.
Yeah, that's good. Who is it through UMass Amherst or is it through like UMass Boston or one of the schools put it on?
It's actually through Suffolk and the Mass Municipal Association.
Nice.
A good team of people. It's
Yeah,
taught by there's some local people that are in the field that are teaching it, so you're getting it direct from the source. So
good.
yeah,
Good. Yeah, and so far so good.
yeah, it's really good. Did a bunch of learning about accounting, internal controls, all that stuff last week. We're gonna get more into like assessing tomorrow, which I'm excited about.
Good. Are you aware of the one that Kyle took at UMass Amherst this last year, last summer?
Uh, no, I'm not. No,
So he
I'm.
took he took the week course out at UMass Amherst,
Mhm.
and he did it in the summer. It's specifically for municipal finance,
Yep.
and it's an intense 1 week, blah blah blah.
Hmm.
Um, and he got a lot out of it. He really
I'll
got a
have to
lot.
look into that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
take a look take a look and I think all of those things are great.
Yep.
Do as many of them as you can, do them as often as you can. It's just, the part that's the practical learning,
Hmm.
coupled with you got other people who are your age, your stage. Actually, you could have people of all ages, but
Right.
you know, maybe coming into it for the first time and saying, okay, I really want to see what this is all about.
Yeah. No, that's
Eh,
exactly my approach to it. Just get exposure, get as much knowledge as I can, so I can step in when necessary. Tribute.
Good, good, good. Yeah, there's, between now, town meeting, I'm sure you'll see a lot of things that you may see for the first time, and um, it's a constant learning curve.
Oh yeah. Yep. Something new every day, which is great. That's where you want to be at.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. You'll see a lot of that tonight.
Yeah.
30, 32 items or more
The warrant.
on the warrant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that Mona? So she
I think let's see. Here we go. Oh, it's coming in.
coming in hot.
Yeah, I usually wait for, I don't know if you feel strongly, but letting guests in closer to the start time.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Hey, John. Hi, Robin.
Good
Hey, Michael.
evening.
Hi, Robin. Where are you?
At home,
What's that like?
it's good.
The new experience? I can't see Rio in the background. You have your black.
Oh, that's because he's harassing Greg.
Oh, it looks blurred. Your background is just blurred, so
Right, I did it blurry.
I can't tell if that's a rug or if that's Rio behind you.
It's a rug. Yeah, he's bugging Greg. He's kind of annoyed that there's no dinner going on right now.
Well, we'll
He's
make it
just very, he has a schedule.
yeah, we'll make it as short as possible for Rio today. We'll be all about Rio.
How are
Michael?
you, John? I haven't talked to you in a while.
I know. Good. Thank you. It's been an eventful couple of weeks.
In a good way?
Yeah, a good way.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Hello, Jim.
Hi, how are you, John?
Good, thank you.
Happy
Hey,
New Year, Jim.
thank you, you too. Yeah, it's almost like the swallows returning to Capistrano. The moderator shows up for a meeting.
It must be that time of year.
Yeah.
So, Jim, we have some bad news for you in
I,
case
I,
you
I've,
know,
I've already heard rail
Yeah.
trail.
no, well, the rail trail, but you're losing your assistant,
The timekeeper.
your
Oh.
timekeeper and your assistant moderator.
Yeah, in fact, if Michael's here, I spoke to Kate
Hold on.
Canny. Kate Canny said she'd be happy to take on the role as the assistant moderator. But, I promised Ford Spalding that I would have town council consulted about her staying on the Board of Engineers with the fire department. So I need to make sure that's okay.
I can check that, Jim. I think town council will be having office hours early next week, if that
Okay.
works for you.
Good,
And then I
good.
can get back to you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Jim, quickly, I sent you a new copy of a better copy, I should say, of the warrant articles. It's a little bit bigger and easier to read.
Okay, yeah, actually, the other one was fine, Dave. Thanks for sending that to me.
No worries.
When John talked about unpleasant surprises, I thought he was referring to the rail trail.
Well, that was going to be number 2 on the
Yeah.
It was plural. He said surprises.
size is exactly.
Right.
We're going to ease you into that, Jim.
Oh, God.
All right, well. It is 6:30 p.m. So good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Board of Selectmen, January 25th, 2024 meeting. Following guidance issued by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts regarding open meeting law. This public meeting is being held remotely, and individuals wishing to participate may do so using the Zoom video conferencing technology, which can be joined either on the web or by telephone, and the information is on the agenda, which can be found on the town website. In addition, we are live streaming on Facebook, and citizens who want to observe the meeting and not participate can do so on Facebook. I will begin with the first item on the agenda. Well, first I will acknowledge that I will take a roll call vote. So I am Robin Hunter, interim chair of the Board of Selectmen. Mr.
John
Jeffrey,
Jeffries, present.
that's good. And then we have our assistant town administrator, Chris Costello, And Jim, I'm not sure if you've met Chris, but he's the newest addition to our staff. I would strongly suggest you stop by and spend some time with him. He's a great asset to the organization. And then we have Michael Blanchard, our town administrator. And we also have the woman that keeps everything together, Mona DeCilio, who will not show her face. And the esteemed town moderator, Mr. Jim Repetti, and the assistant town moderator, David Heffler. So welcome all to our meeting this evening. The first item of business is public comments. Are there any public comments? Chris or Mike, did you receive anything?
No, none.
Okay, so we're ahead of schedule now. So we're going to move to item 1.1, which is the review of the 2024 annual town meeting warrant articles. And I will tell you, it just seems like yesterday that we were just doing this. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Mike, to go over the warrant articles.
Thank you, Robin, and I apologize. I've been can't seem to shake a cold for over a week now, so I have a bit of a cough. So please bear with me. So as the board's aware, the warrant closed on Friday, January 12th. And we've been working to verify and collate the articles which you have in your packet. Most of the articles, as you'll see, are denoted with an asterisk, are kind of standard annually reoccurring articles. So I didn't think we'd spend time going over each of those, but I thought we could highlight the non-annual ones that some are new or some you only see time to time, and kind of go through those, noting that obviously all of these will be reviewed much more in depth as town meeting season progresses. So just in terms of going in order of the list, the ones with the non-asterisk, the first is to rescind borrowing authorizations. This isn't necessarily an annual item, but it is certainly more routine. And as the town has done projects and perhaps the final cost came in less than what was authorized for borrowing, it's a good financial practice to rescind that borrowing to get that off the books. So we will go through that process with our finance team and bring that forward, which specific projects could be rescinded in terms of any balance in the borrowing amount.
So by rescinded, Mike, do you repay the borrowings or do the excess funds go into free cash?
So we didn't actually borrow the funds. These are authorizations.
Only authorizations to do
correct.
So. Okay.
Correct. So it's just financial.
So it's housekeeping, I guess.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
There you go. That's exactly what it is. Yes. We borrowed less than what was authorized, and so there's a delta just to clean up.
Okay.
We have a placeholder for a housing study. As the board knows, the Housing Task Force has met several times. It's really a great group, a cross-sectional group of various boards, committees, and staff. And there was a need from that group to move forward with a housing study to look at how we can implement some of the things in our housing production plan. So there's a placeholder for that. There's no dollar amount associated yet with that, but we'll continue to work through that process fairly quickly so that article gets solidified. We have a placeholder, a couple from Parks and Recreation. One is for one-time recreation items. So there's a potential for some outdoor recreational capital items outside of the capital budget process. And so that's a placeholder for those items. And then as was, oh, sorry, Ron.
So I can give a little more background here. There's some items that are currently in capital budget that may be more appropriate to do as a separate warrant article, which is something that we've done in the past for extraordinary type capital. These are not for replacements, it's for new recreation space. So we're capital budgets and Park and Rec are talking about whether or not to split some of their requests and put it into this special warrant article. So this could potentially be used or potentially not.
Right. The next item by Parks and Rec was kind of joked a little bit, I don't know if joke's the right word, earlier, for the rail trail lease and also associated design funds appropriation. That was at a request of the Parks and Recreation Commission to place that on the warrant. We then have 3 items from the planning board for zoning articles and 1 from this office, but through DPW. So the first is a construction hours bylaw, which would look at limiting the hours constructions can take place in Dover to deal with noise issues and complaints. The second is a bylaw providing some guidelines relative to small and medium scale solar projects. Some land use zoning changes and updates, and then stormwater bylaw amendments as well. That DPW is again has a working group to work through some of those changes. So we're hoping to finalize that and present that shortly, but that's a placeholder right now. The Board of Assessors is seeking authorization to enter a contract exceeding 3 years. So under Mass General Law, the standard for contracts is 3 years, but with approval of town meeting, you can go longer. As you may know, the assessors are on a 5-year evaluation cycle. And so they were hoping to match their contract to that 5-year cycle. In order to do a 5-year contract, they need permission and approval by town meeting. So they are working with town council to finalize the language for that, but that's essentially what this article would do, is allow them to enter a 5-year contract for their reevaluation services. The Conservation Commission has a placeholder for, which I consider a little bit of housekeeping, for transfer of land. So we have records over a number of years on various parcels that are owned by the town under the care, custody, and control of the Selectmen, but there was an intention to put them under the care, custody, control of the Conservation Commission. Some of those were tax takings, things of that nature. So we're working with Conservation to go through those records, and then we'll be looking to present a series, potentially, of properties that town meeting would authorize the Conservation Commission to take control of and maintain as open space. On here is a municipal aggregation bylaw. I believe the board's aware. I believe this was discussed sometime before I arrived. There is an opportunity for communities to go out to bid on behalf of their residents to obtain bids for electricity. Often communities see a significant savings for their residents when they go out to bid, as opposed to going with the standard Eversource rates, with, as you may know, change every 6 months, often higher during certain portions of the year, lower during others. Communities have found that not only is there generally a savings, but it provides stability. If you have one price that's locked in for a period of time, many people are on electric budget plans, or even if it's a month-to-month bill, you don't see the big spikes other than based on usage, not on cost. What this article would simply do is give you, the board, authorization to enter, to explore and enter into a municipal aggregation agreement. It does not require you to do so. So it provides you with the authority to go out, to see what's out there, potentially to bid. But if at any point the prices are not favorable or the agreement is not favorable, it would not obligate you to do that. But it would at least give you the option to consider it.
Mike, can I just quick question? I can't remember. I know we looked at this last year, and I think you were on board when we asked you to speak to a gentleman who brought it to our attention. Was it you, or was it
I think it was Carl.
Chris or Carl?
Yeah, that was before me, for sure.
So I have the notes. I went back to my notes. I have the gentleman, and I have the company, the firm that we were referred to for this. And it was really a novel approach. And
yeah, it was compelling financially.
Yeah, financially very compelling. It's and it's a Dover resident. So I'll make sure that you have this. And I know that when we looked at it, it was, as Robin and I both said, it was eye-popping, compelling. We just didn't have the ability to do it. So I think this is a no-brainer, but I'll make sure we connect you with the person so we can at least have you meet with them and understand give you a little bit more depth and color to this.
That'll be great. No, I appreciate it very much. And again, just for the board's benefit as a refresher and anyone that's watching, while this is an opt-out program, meaning that customers in Dover are automatically in the program, it is voluntary and residents do have the opportunity to opt out.
Yeah.
So if for some reason they wish to participate in another program or just stick with the regular Eversource program, residents do have that opportunity. So just wanted to make sure we know that.
Mike, have you seen this in any of your prior engagements?
I have, yes. It's been, as you said, the numbers were kind of eye-popping. My last community, it just happened to coincide, very fortunately, with the very large increase we saw a couple of years ago. So the savings were just, I mean, astronomical. It was really ridiculous how much residents saved. But again, part of that was just luck on the timing. But as I said, even if on a percent hour that rate per hour, it's not dramatic. It does provide some great consistency over the course of the year, which most people find very beneficial. It's really all about timing. It's when you go to market. You may find, again, you have an eye-popping number. You might go at a bad time. You find it's not great, and then you may decide to wait. You can wait another 6 months and go again. But this article will give you that opportunity to at least consider it, go out to bid, and see what's available for the residents.
Right, so we, again, we need to, and maybe we could work with you and Chris and get the gentleman back, but we should definitely, try and put together some slides explaining it and trying to put together pro formas of what the financial benefits are. And how you can opt in and out. I think it will be important, especially since we're sponsoring it. And I just have a very vague recollection now, but I remember it was extremely compelling.
Robin, didn't we start with we started this process as the town? We had the ability to do it for us, for the town. So the Board of Selectmen could enter into it, and I think we've begun that process. Isn't that correct?
I know, John, I'm very fuzzy. I would need to go back and look at the meeting we discussed.
I'm pretty sure that we gave Chris,
right. You could be right.
And we gave Kevin the ability to do it on behalf of the new rating and the new system for the building, the town buildings. So anyway, we'll go.
You could be right. I mean, we'll just go back and dig it out. And as we pull together the information, it will all come back to us.
Yeah.
And then last, we received 2 citizens petitions. One you are familiar with. It is, I don't think it's identical, but very close to a similar article which came forward, I believe, last year to install sidewalks on Cross Street. And there's also a citizens petition to basically, most towns call it a leash law, to require, if you are out with your dog, to have it on a leash so the dog is under your control, as opposed to no leash. So those are the 2 citizens petitions. So that's kind of an overview of the non-reoccurring articles. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them, but that's kind of the brief overview at this point.
Madam Chair, may I quickly ask a question?
You certainly may.
So were both of the citizens petition, were they given the new policy and procedure about town meeting?
Yes, they have been, and we'll remind them of that. But yes, that policy has been given out.
Excellent, thank you.
Absolutely. Robin, if I may, I see we had a question in the chat, which would be, if it would be great to have an option to buy clean energy. There traditionally in programs I participated in, those are options. So when you enter the program, the default is kind of the traditional electricity package, but then you can opt into a green energy program. Sometimes there's a couple levels of it. It does cost more, but residents do have the option of not only opting out entirely of the program, but opting into those green energy programs.
I just wanted to make sure that when it was negotiated, that we at least had one green option. Thank you.
So again, a contract will not be submitted at town meeting. It will more be the town's ability to negotiate these contracts.
Yes, I get that. I just was
Okay, all
putting my
right,
2 cents in for when you get down to the negotiating.
right. All right, so, it looks like it could potentially be a full town meeting. Right now, the preliminary budget also is showing Article 4 about 9% higher than last year. It's very preliminary with placeholders. And so we need, warrant committee is going through their process of vetting budgets. We're also going through the process of pulling together and refining the numbers, and making sure that we can explain the cost drivers. The school has put together their first versions of the budgets as well. So within the next couple of weeks, I think, we will be able to present a much more accurate version of the budget with fewer of the placeholders that we have in there. Capital, again, is a high capital year. However, we were able to use some ARPA funds, again, some of the infrastructure repairs and upgrades that are needed, which will help reduce that. So capital is working closely with all of the departments that are requesting funds, trying to find opportunities for grants and to ensure that the request is needed in the current year, and to, see whether or not it can be pushed out. But
So,
capital budgets is almost done, and they will be able to pull together a presentation. We were waiting for just a few more proposals from some of the town committees.
Robin, if there's no other discussion on any of these items, I'll move to approve the 2024 annual town meeting warrant articles as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor, aye. John Jeffries.
I, Robin Hunter. All right, so the next item of business, oh, Mike, you have a busy night tonight, is you are going to present the retrofit support contract for services that they provide to the town.
Thank you, Robin. So as a board, I think is aware, Retrofit is our provider for all of our technology services within the town. We currently do not have any internal IT people on staff, so it is completely outsourced. What you have in front of you is a renewal of a contract that was first signed in 2019, although Retrofit has been a provider of ours all the way back to 2013. At that time, it had more to do with our servers, and over the years, their role has increased to a variety of things, and I'll try to hit on some of those now. So they provide all our kind of desktop services. We have 81 devices, so that's computers and laptops. They provide all the antivirus licensing and software. They do all of our servers. We have 4 servers mixed amongst the various departments. They manage all our network systems. So we have 10 network devices. They manage our backup. So we do cloud backup. So they manage and ensure that. And then because we don't have an on-staff IT person, they provide 1 day a week, every Thursday, a staff person who comes on site. So there's two things. One is when there's urgent issues, we're able to submit help desk tickets, and they can address a lot of those remotely. But ones they either can't address remotely or things that aren't as urgent, the technician does on Thursday. So he usually stop here in our office. As you joked, Mona's our point person for everything, so he meets with Mona, makes sure he knows what his tasks are for the day, and goes to each of the buildings, each of the departments, to go through the various issues that we have. There is an increase in the contract year over year. So our monthly cost is going up $1,300, so $1,300 per month, which translates to $15,600 plus per year. What I do want to note, though, is that we are going to see a pretty significant savings. So as the board may recall, we had two grants and earmarks. One was to install a municipal fiber project. So that was to install our own network fiber. It's kind of a loop amongst all of our buildings. The second phase of that, which we're about to undertake, was an earmark from the state to upgrade a variety of our network devices to improve our resiliency and cybersecurity ability. And so once that happens, we're going to actually see a reduction. So the contract you see before you today, which we're signing, is $12,302.10 a month. Once that project's complete, our monthly fee will be reduced to $11,309, so about $1,000 a month. The reason for that is the earmark provides for us to purchase the network devices. Right now we're renting them through our provider, so that we will see that reduction. So we're looking at just under about $1,000 per month, or about $12,000 obviously per year. We'll see once that project is complete. So that's good news. But there certainly is an increase regardless. After the project's complete, the relative increase would be $314 per month, or about $3,700 per year. So significantly less once we have that project done.
And Mike, I'm sorry, how long do we pay the $12,000 a month?
So until the project's complete, we anticipate, based on some back orders of equipment, things of that nature, we could be looking about 3 to 4 months before the project's complete. As the board knows, we do have in our FY25 budget a project manager and IT support person. This is a position that previously existed that was not filled this past fiscal year. We have found that while Retrofit provides wonderful services, we're very happy with them, and that's why, hence, we're with you with the renewal today. We do really think it's important to have someone on site. So obviously we have to go through the budget process, if that position is approved, get someone on board, but we believe we'd see additional savings, because once that person was up and running, we do believe some of these services could be reduced. We do not have a hard number on that, because we don't know what that would look like. A lot of that might depend on the candidate, when they start, things of that nature. But we are sure that we can reduce some of these services. We just don't know what that will look like at this time.
And as I looked through the services, some of the services, in my experience, are performed by outside outfits, such as the threat prevention and security services. That is something that's always outsourced. The network management, depending on the expertise of the individual that we bring in, is outsourced. I think what this individual may be able to help us save on is the end user desk support.
Right.
But I would say the monitoring, the infrastructure monitoring, the managed backup services is usually something that an outsourced provider does. And certainly the fact that the backups are done in a cloud is excellent, because there's redundancy of backups within the cloud, and it's off-site. So you have automatically have a disaster recovery program.
Yeah.
And I think putting that threat prevention and security services in place was paramount to protecting the data of the town.
Correct.
Yeah,
You may recall, Robin, when we first started this with Bob with the TAB, right, the technology task
advisory
force,
board, right?
the advisory board that we put into place 6 years ago. So it's almost 7 years ago. We didn't have a single point of bringing disaster recovery, threat mitigation, cybersecurity wasn't even a topic 7 years ago.
Right, and right.
You couldn't even buy insurance for it 7 years ago. So I'm sure, and Dave will agree, I know his firm had all of this on an outsourced basis. My firm has it all. Robin, I'm sure you've got it all. And when you think about $12,000 a month, that's a lot of money. It's a big increase over last year. I just go back to what we've started 7 years ago to bring this all together, to have the monitor of it, their office in Taunton, that as they described in this proposal, they're monitoring their mitigating threats. And so a lot of this now is money that we're spending to be proactive rather than reactive. We've always spent money, and we've always spent money on these systems, but we've never really had, up until these past couple of years, a comprehensive plan in place. And so what I would encourage everybody to read through these various pages of the proposal, because essentially what it is, it's just a execution of the plan that we began 7 years ago. Some of these things are going to be increasing year to year. Some of these things are going to be decreasing. Some of them will go away. And literally there won't be a cost for some of them, because that's just the nature of this process. It's the nature of the technology. And some of these systems, if you look at page 5 and you look at the monthly Azure estimate, that estimate is going to change, and then it's going to be actually go down every year for that particular piece of software. So anyway,
Right.
would you
Right,
like
so
a motion, Robin?
I just want to make sure that people understand that the cost increase is $1,300 a month, and the cost of $12,000 the monthly fee. We were paying around $10,000, I guess, a month prior to this increase. But I completely agree with John. This is, I think even before John, we had different versions of Office 365 on people's machines.
We had about
People couldn't share information. They were walking around with flash drives because they had different versions. So we've really come a long way. And as we all know, you can't function anymore without a computer. So we need to make sure that they're functioning correctly. So I'm going to move to approve the contract between the town of Dover and Retrofit Technologies for a 12-month term effective January 25th, 2024.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
Aye, John Jeffries.
Okay.
Could we also, Michael, at some point in time, what we should also do is and just ask Retrofit to do this for us, it is to compare what we're not spending for the on-site in-house versus having this, because what we do, and I'm sure Robin, you've probably done this, and I know that Dave Haviland would have done it, and I do it, is we compare the in-house person costs to the managed service cost. And while the managed service cost is a lot, as I said, it varies, but that it's always up to date and it's 24/7. Even when you have a person in-house, they're never going to be 24/7.
They do take vacations.
Imagine that.
Right, and that's the benefit of having an outsource. You have somebody all the time. So I think we're going to move on to item 1.3, which is review and approve the 2023 Board of Selectmen Annual Town Report.
So in your packet was a draft of the report for your consideration. The only thing we weren't able to do, so I would ask if you do consider approving this tonight, it would just be subject to adding the list of grants in 2023. Our DPW director is working on that for me. And so we'll just simply copy and paste the list and the dollar amount, but we wouldn't change any of the context of the report. So I would ask if you would, obviously, if you have any other edits, please let us know. But if you could vote to approve it, just contingent on the town administrator inserting the list of grants, which is a dollar amount and a brief grant description.
So I would like to say it was very well written. I kept reading it over to see if I could find a comma that I needed to add or a better word. So thank you for doing this. And I also didn't see anything that was missing.
I appreciate our grammar editor, Mona DeShilia, for reviewing this for us.
Right. So John, did you have anything to add to this?
No, but I guess in 2004, the appointment of Joe Vinci becomes effective in 2024. So
Right, and this is
it's
23.
2023, right?
Right.
Right, it's
It took me a minute to how to write that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So no, my editing skills are not as sharp as our former selectman and our good friend Bob Springett, the grumpy editor, who is.
I don't think he would have found anything.
I don't think. Yeah, exactly. I read through this, Robin, probably the same way you did, and thinking, what would Bob have found? What would where would he have focused? So I'm happy to make the motion if you would like.
Why don't you go ahead?
Move to approve the 2023 Board of Selectmen annual report as amended.
I'll second that. All in favor? I, Robin Hunter.
Aye, John Jeffries.
Excellent. And now moving to item 1.4, and that is Board of Selectmen updates. So what I'll do is I'll just start with my updates, John, and then I'll move over to you, and then it will just kind of roll into the town administrator updates, or it may become one, depending. So feel free, if there are things that are part of your update that you want to add to, Michael, feel free doing that. All right. So the housing task force, we've made a lot of progress. We're due a second meeting, another meeting in 2024. We're going to focus on pulling together the value proposition for the consulting services that we would like to get authorization from town meeting for, which will help us as we think about the vision for the town and what multifamily development might look like, because we simply don't have all the expertise that we need in-house to look at that. I have been attending warrant committee meetings. They are actually breezing through their vetting of the budgets. And what occurred to me this week that, and Michael, perhaps you and I, or Carl and I, could spend some time and maybe with a representative from the warrant committee as well, to find a way to present the budget to the town at an open hearing where it highlights the new items that are being asked for versus just the level service items that are being asked for. I sent over a presentation that the school committee made, and I thought that was an excellent way to present the budget. But I think that would be extremely helpful to the town. I think it would be nice to be able to drill down and demonstrate what the new positions are that we're looking for, what some of the new services that the town may be providing, and what that contributes to the overall increase in the budget. Capital budgets is really making some excellent progress. We are just left with the Board of Selectmen's budget, and Carl was getting some proposals and an engineer that's going to report back to capital budgets. I believe it's not next week, but the week after, on February the 5th or 6th. And at that point, we'll be able to wrap things up and pull together a comprehensive summary. And one of the lessons learned from last year at capital budgets was that we really need to demonstrate to the town what items in the capital budget are simply replacement items, and items that over time we're going to find ourselves continuing to replace. What are infrastructure projects that we have to do in connection with new regulations, and which projects are just in general infrastructure failing projects, because I think it's important to put it into those buckets. So I'm going to work with the chair to do that. I am really pleased to say that the Water Resource Committee is almost ready to issue the report. This has been almost 18 months working with CDM Smith, and the committee was first tasked to look at the water source in Dover, to understand what potential alternative sources there may be to the town and what the costs would be associated with those. And then we did a slight add-on of the project where we asked CDM Smith if they could model what the sustainability of the aquifer is. Like, could you say how much additional gallons of water the aquifer could provide to the town? And they are busy working on that final piece. So we do have a meeting set up. They sent the report out. We sent comments back to them. One other thing that came to my attention was there is a dashboard on the website that updates the monitoring wells that we have in town, and there's an issue with the license. So I set the Water Resource Committee straight that we're straightening out the issue with the license, and that the data is being collected, and that that dashboard will be updated in the near future. So everybody was really pleased about that, because that's a great way. Actually, it's one of the only ways for us to get a proxy of the capacity of the aquifer in town, or the health of the aquifer, because we do know during droughts that it takes much longer for the wells to recharge. And those are all the items that I have on my plate right now. I think everybody's gearing up to town meeting, and we did talk about making sure that we update the website with information on each of the warrant articles. I did meet with the chairman of Park and Rec to try and understand better exactly what they were looking to do for that rail trail warrant article. So maybe we could talk to them a little bit. You know, their preliminary idea was to get the town to approve the standard MBTA lease, and also to approve some funds so they could update the costs to put the rail trail in place. I think, you know, we need to discuss a little more in detail with them exactly what is going to be presented to the town, so that it's not confusing. Because if the town enters into the lease, you're committing to the rail trail. So if you don't have the cost approved to put the rail trail in place, you really can't commit to a lease. So maybe it's just to get a sense from town meeting whether or not they would be willing to enter into the standard lease. So we need to, we need to make sure that whatever we're asking for is understandable to town meeting, because we do know from past experience that this can be an extremely emotionally charged item in the town. So we need to understand exactly what we're asking for at this town meeting.
To say the least.
Yep, Jim?
Yeah, just one other point to follow up on that, Robin. I think it's really important to understand for somebody to study what the liability issues are and also about the availability of insurance. And a lot of us know that just because you have insurance doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be covered. Also, what might be the anticipated litigation expenses in trying to enforce an environmental insurance policy, somebody,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
so we did all that work before. We
Yeah.
have all the opinions. So we need to pull that all out and go back and look through it. But right now, they are not asking, that's the thing with this Warren article. It's not, because you need funds to put, so what comes first? The horse or the cart? And that's why I want to make absolutely certain that the town understands what they're voting for in this
Right.
warrant article. Because there's, what is the town voting to approve? Is it to go back to the MBTA, to pull together what the standard lease is, to pull together the cost estimates, and then to come to town meeting with all the facts? Is that what they're looking for? Because you do need some money for that, because we do need to update the construction costs. Dave?
Robin, what about the bridge? Because the last time that was brought before town meeting, they were talking about ending it at basically the town center and before the Medfield line. And if this is a connection between Needham and Medfield, there's that little river and that railroad bridge. And just to let everyone know, about 20 years ago, I happened to be driving by the last time a train went over that bridge. And the engineer stopped the locomotive, then put it in the lowest gear possible, got out of the locomotive, walked over the Center Street Bridge and caught up with the train on the other side. And on an inquiry, it's like, what are you doing? And he goes, I'm not going across that bridge. That thing is rickety and ready to fall down. Now, yes, that was 20 years ago. And yes, it was a locomotive. But if we're going to buy this rail trail, are we taking on the liability of that bridge?
Well, we're certainly not putting a locomotive over the bridge, right? So, and I believe the bridge is in Needham. So I think, our responsibility in connection with the lease for the rail trail is just to make sure that we have a rail trail, through to that bridge. But again, I'm not sure, and we have to go back and look at the plans. There's certainly a lot of work, and that's why, I had suggested to Park and Rec that I could take all the information that I have and put it onto a Google Drive so we could go back and look through that information again. I mean, there were reports done by the Rail Trail Committee. There were reports done by the engineers, Beals and Thomas. There are opinions written by the environmental attorney at Anderson Krieger. There are insurance policies that, but again, all this stuff was done 5 years ago. So we need to understand how things have been, you know, we need to take that whole data package and roll it forward. And then we need to understand, you know, what the cost is with rolling the data package forward. So there's still a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done.
Fair enough.
And you know, I'm sure the town has files, but one of the things I did do was I scanned in all of those reports. So I just need to go through my digital files because I archived them. And, you know, I'd be happy to put them on a Google Drive so we can begin to see what I have versus what the town has.
Rob,
Yeah.
yeah, Robin, I'm thinking back to the last town meeting and the amount of time that we devoted to a discussion of the rail trail. I'm almost wondering whether it would be appropriate to consider having a separate special town meeting at some point.
Certainly, I mean, that's the only way I would do this, and that's why we need to really understand what are we voting on here? Are we voting on just getting money so that we can update everything, so that we then can present this to the town with all updated figures and costs at a special town meeting? Because we certainly, I don't know that we could get everything we need by May. And I don't believe that's what they're asking for. You know, I think what they're trying to gauge is this something the town would like them to try and move forward?
I think the next big question is also when, because we've got that little thing called hail on the horizon. So,
Yes, we did.
Right. Right,
Yeah.
but I mean, nobody's asking us, right, to commit to a town meeting now, but I think that was one of the lessons learned, Jim and Dave, was when you have these very special items, you really need to have a separate town meeting, because otherwise they consume the entire town.
They do. And this will.
Right. But, you know, we're still, you know, they're responding to many inquiries that they get about the rail trail, especially with the Medfield one is extremely popular. And then with the Carroll Community Center, or the Dover Community Center being built, you know, people are saying, well, what about a rail trail? So, you know, so I think they're trying to get a sense, is this something that the town really wants them to dedicate resources now to revive the project, or try to revive the project?
has the private funding remained, or has that moved out of town?
These are all questions that need to be answered, and you know, and can it be a public-private partnership? There are grants available by the Commonwealth if you enter into the standard MBTA lease, because we did apply for one of those grants and we were denied. And we were fortunate enough that the department was willing to talk to us about what was wrong with our application. And basically the big issue was that we didn't want to execute the full MBTA lease.
Lease, we segmented the lease.
But, you know, so these are all, you know, Medfield did a lot of the work themselves with their DPW department. It was not very expensive for them to put that rail trail in place. And I would strongly suggest anybody to go and walk the Medfield Rail Trail. They did a phenomenal job. And it is run by Friends of the Medfield Rail Trail, because they proudly sport their jackets. And there is no dog poop on it. They have horses. I've seen horses on it. And they have rakes, and the equestrians clean up after their horses. I mean, the rail trail Medfield did a phenomenal job. And there's some, there's some sections where there are houses right on the rail trail. And some
Many-
people have put on privacy fences and others haven't.
Others have not, right?
Right.
Robin, you want me to
Yeah. Why don't you
Cool.
go ahead?
Thank you. So just, well, Chris, Mike, actually, this will be a little bit of a segue into yours and into some of the things that we're going to cover. When you said earlier that the finance team, the first thing that I'm going to cover tonight is our finance, meaning the Board of Selectmen, Dave Havlin, Kate Canny, myself, what we're looking at. Michael, when you said earlier in the warrant committee reports, you're going to have the internal finance team look at a couple of these items from a budgeting standpoint. Who makes up that team right now? You, Kyle, who else is?
Yep. So myself, our treasurer collector, our finance director, and our town accountant.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I was writing down Kyle and who else?
Kyle, Carl, and Kathy.
And when does Carl end?
He does not as of now. So as you know or may know, we do have a full-time request for a full-time finance director in our FY25 budget.
Right.
But as of now, Carl does not have an end time.
Okay, so do we have to approve him again before town meeting? Does his money time expire?
So his funding is within our expense budget as a
Right, it's in
contract.
Professional services.
Okay.
Professional services, yes.
Okay, got it. So as it pertains to that, we met, Dave, Kate, and I met. We've focused on items within our control currently that are missing. So that's one item of interest, one topic that is at the top of the list. So we are methodically going through our vendor contracts, our vendor agreements, and where we've identified, with the help of Dave and Kate, meeting with Kyle, identifying things that are missing and things that we, the Board of Selectmen, have asked our vendors that are missing. So that is item number one. We're focusing on costs with these various vendors. We're also focusing on redundancies and the duties that are, in some cases, redundant within the advisors that we're working with. And in some cases, items that are missing throughout the redundant layers in the community that we're working with currently. So that is the first item, the first items of business that the three of us have focused on are those that I've just enumerated, and working with our team, specifically Kyle and the people that Mike just mentioned, because many of these people are new. Many of these people have no experience working with the vendors that we have. And there has been, in many cases, just a matter, we'll try to figure out how these things became missing or how these things didn't get done. But for right now, it's not about focusing on those particular items. It's about filling in the blanks and getting to what we need, not necessarily why are these missing or how did this happen? Currently, we will get to that. We will figure that out. We will pull all of these things apart and figure out exactly how it happened. But at the moment, we're focused on, Mike, getting your team the support that you need, where the guidance that you need, and specifically the expertise of knowing what you don't have. So that's where we are for that area. David, is there anything you'd like to add to that? Did I summarize?
No, we're still on the document gathering stage, and Kyle's been very helpful so far. And what we want to do is find out what we do have and ask the vendors to fill in anything that might be missing, and then start going out and determining where we want to be. And if it means increasing communication, we can put in place greater communication. And also going through the investment accounts, just giving them a modern or current look over. And in each of the trust funds, and there's many of them, what are their objectives? What are their timeframes? What are their needs on an annual basis from these trusts? And making sure that the investments actually line up with each of their objectives. So again, it's very preliminary. We're just gathering information, and look forward to working with Kyle and others to get this done.
Thank you very much. The next item, Robin, the 3 versus 5 committee. This, for those of you that are watching and listening, and those of you that are about to watch this at some point in time later on, not live. So this is a kind of a scary thing when you work with somebody, and Robin and I have been working together for a very long time. So sometimes you do things automatically, and when Robin and I divided the tasks that Bob was overseeing during the reconstruction a couple of months ago of the Board of Selectmen, one of the things that we agreed upon was the 3 versus 5 committee was about done. The one thing that we both decided to do was we couldn't remember if which person was going to do it, so we both did it. We both contacted the 3 versus 5 committee and said, would you please give us a report? And I literally sent Robin a text or an email the same day that she actually met or spoke with Kate and the 3 versus 5 committee. And I thought, oh my God, that's
Well, and as I said, John, better both of us approach them than
Yeah.
none of us approach them. So, hey, I'm not apologizing for both of us approaching them.
Exactly.
And then I forgot to mention it. So thank you for mentioning it. There's something about that committee.
Yeah.
It's too much or too little.
Exactly. So that the 3 versus 5 committee has, as I've mentioned in our last report, done a very thorough job. They are ready. They will write a summary. They will present to the Board of Selectmen at an upcoming meeting. They're going to work with Mona and Michael to get on the agenda. So that's where that is currently. Hale, we've covered. We will have a separate meeting. Mike, how did your last meeting go with respect to the CR?
So it went very well. We continue to meet multiple times a week. The working group is going to meet again on Monday. And at that point, I should have a really good concept of where we are. Each party went back to work on a few more things that were outstanding, but hopefully Monday we'll have a much better sense of it. But it's going very well, and there is a path forward here for sure.
We are anxious to get a draft CR into the hands of pretty much everybody who's on the call this evening, from Amy to Dave to people who watch it, the planning board, zoning. So there's conservation, open space. All of these folks want to get a draft CR in their hands so they can review it, read it, understand it, and then opine how we can make it better, stronger, whatever the right terminology is. So that, Michael, I can't, we've had many conversations, so I just encourage you to work as hard as you can to get a draft to us so we can disseminate it. With regards to Carol, Robin, at our last meeting, we gave funding for the drafting of the director's office. That will happen within 2 weeks. So they will finish that next week. The next building committee meeting is going to be the same week. We meet again on the Monday, so I will have the report for us. There was a meeting yesterday. Carl Warnick informed me that that's just a standard regular meeting on site that he attends. and there was nothing that I needed to attend. But that did happen yesterday. And that
They're
is,
making progress when you drive by there. I mean, it's kind of exciting to look at it.
the good unofficial news is, and I believe we heard this from them as it pertains to their contingencies. They don't foresee anything, and they tend to be pretty good at this when they look out on their schedule and on their job schedule and how they post their schedule, how they crash the job, how, and that's a technical term, anybody who's had process engineering, is how you speed up the job and make it go faster. So that they do not foresee in the next month anything to slow them down. We've had very good weather. We've had delivery.
John, don't jinx the weather.
Say, welcome to Blizzard 24. So
Right.
Okay, I won't go any
Please
further.
don't jinx the weather.
I'll stop right there.
Okay, thank you.
Carol's on track. And those are all of my updates as of this evening.
Thank you.
So I can roll right into mine because again, I won't retouch everything, but hail obviously has been extremely time consuming and going very well. And I appreciate your words, John, and we'll be sure to get that, bring it home here. A lot of work on the annual town meeting warrant and the operating capital budget, which again, Robin touched on. I attended the personnel board meeting on January 16th as we move through some of the new job descriptions for the positions that we're looking at. Been having quite a few conversations with our new police chief, Vinci, who's starting on Monday. I think everyone is really very excited for that.
Did he take time off or is he working this week?
Well, I sent him a text yesterday, Mike, and I just said, I hope you're resting.
Yes, he was actually here today. He was meeting with the other Robin, our HR Robin, to do some onboarding, and he was big smile. Doesn't seem to regret his choice, so that's good. He seemed very excited. I did want to share that the state allocated $15 million in the FY23 closeout supplement budget to directly support municipalities that were affected by storms back in 2023, specifically July and August. And as you know, we had quite an impact with some damage to our culverts and some severe flooding at our DPW. And unfortunately, they've been in trailers since. Although I will say that's coming to a completion soon. They'll be back in the building. But I'm just pleased to report that Dover is set to receive $405,000 within the coming weeks as part of that funding from the state for that damage. So I don't quite have the specifics on how that money can be used, what we could put that towards, but I thought that was good news and just wanted to share that.
And a big thank you to Denise Garlick.
Yes, of course. Yep, as always, absolutely. And lastly, I just wanted to share that I met with Eversource with our DPW director, current interim police chief, and our fire chief on a couple things. So one is, as a community, we were not thrilled with their response to the storm in December. Specifically, we were very understanding that some of the power restoration takes time, particularly in high winds. They can't get back, into the trucks for the safety of their workers. But we had a lot of issues with closed roads and inaccessible roads due to down power lines and down trees. And we, the police and fire chief, DPW director, at times we're literally driving around looking for Eversource trucks, trying to get help so that we could open up roads, because we not only could residents not get in and out, but emergency vehicles couldn't get down. I just want to say I was very pleased that Eversource was very receptive. They took full responsibility, and I think we have a good plan going forward of how we can address that. Specifically, what we asked them, which was done in years past, was to sign working crews to the town that then our local staff direct them where they need to go. What Eversource was doing was sending trucks. For example, we had a truck here, and then it left here to go up to Waltham, and then it was going down to Needham. It was just the operation just didn't make a lot of sense. So I just wanted to share that we're very receptive, and we believe we have a really good plan going forward, that our internal local staff will be able to help direct their crews so that we can get the roads opened in a more efficient manner for public safety. The other conversation we had with them was regarding the Chestnut Street Bridge. There hadn't been a lot of communication directly with Dover, so we thought it was important for them to do that. I won't rehash all the details. We'll try to share some of this on our website, but I think, as most people know, there was a leak in a high pressure fluid transmission line, and as a result, the bridge is only partially open. They are working with the state, the Mass DOT, to secure all the permits they need to make all the final repairs, but that is taking some time, through no fault of necessarily the state, but just the process and the plans they have to go through. At this point, there is some concern that this could continue to be an issue through February, but they are working as quickly as they can. The good news is, of all this, they don't expect any long-term impacts to the Charles River. The cleanup and the spill was able to be contained and cleaned up quickly. So we think that is good news. But we had asked that they continue to keep us updated so we can pass that along to our residents in hopes that that bridge is open soon, because I know that has been a pretty big inconvenience for people.
Michael, can I just add one thing to your comments? And I just want to say that the announcement for the chief that went out was well done. I just appreciate that you guys took the time to mention the committee. You said hours of work in the body of the more like months and months of work for the chief, and the chief's ceremony, official ceremony, is going to be on Thursday, February 1st, correct?
Right.
There. And so, Robin, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's actually a pinning ceremony where we get to pin the badge right on him. Right, Michael? Isn't that the way? So if you draw blood, it's good luck.
I think I have heard that, yes.
So I would have very much liked to attend, but unfortunately I am in Europe next week. So
Well, I'm going to do my best to try to draw as much blood as possible, just like in F Troop back.
I hate to disappoint you, John, but tradition is that the chief does select his own person to do the pinning.
After that, the second one.
Okay, all right.
The first person gets to pin him. The second person, I want to be the second one.
Fair enough.
that's why the chief picked his brother. Right?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So, I hope he picked a family member.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So then I am going to move to the consent agenda. And in the consent agenda, just bear with me a moment, we have a special one-day liquor license for February 9th, 2024, and the January 31st, 2023 Board of Selectmen open session meeting minutes. And so what I will do is I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Seconded.
All in favor? I, Robin Hunter.
Aye, John Jeffries.
All right, and that actually ends our meeting. Following this meeting, we will enter into executive session to discuss and prepare for collective bargaining with labor union personnel and negotiations with non-union personnel. And so I move that the board enter into executive session, not to return to open session, for the purpose of discussing strategy with respect to collective bargaining negotiations with local 1116 labor union personnel and to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel. Further, as chair, I declare that an open meeting discussion may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the town. And so now I would like to take a roll call vote to adjourn this meeting and to enter into executive session, not to return to open session.
John
I-
Jeffries.
And
Oh.
I, Robin Hunter. So do we stay on the line, Mike?
So you'll stay here if we just pause for a minute. Chris will
Okay.
remove all non-board members. We'll stop the live feed. We're gonna temporarily stop the recording and then we'll restart it.
Okay, thank you. Good night,
Have a good night,
everyone.
everyone.
Good night, everyone.
But Dave.
Thank you.
All right, do we record ES or no?
Yeah, so what if you could stop the recording, just let it sit for like